Mario 64, still considered one of the best Mario games to date. But why? What makes this game so special? Why do people continue to play it over and over again even though the game came out years ago in 1996? Well, I believe part of that is because of some of the amazing worlds it has. In this video, I will be ranking the main 15 worlds Mario 64 has. And what I mean by that is I'm talking about the main ones, the ones that have 6 stars each. So the Bowser levels and the secret worlds around the castle, like Peach's Slide and, like the Flying Cap and, like, the Cap stages, you know what I mean. Those stuff do not count. That's mostly because I'm 100% sure I'd forget pretty much all of them, or at least half of them. Because, believe it or not, I have only played Mario 64 once and I never 100%ed it. Yeah, you can get mad at me, I'm fine with that. So anyways, let's go. You can't honestly tell me you really enjoy Rainbow Ride. Look, I might be being a bit harsh to it, but the level just feels so bland. I mean, you're in the sky, but it's just a bunch of untextured blocks. And you're just waiting around on carpets most of the time. Feels like there's almost no game. You're just waiting around on carpets, and they didn't even bother putting textures on any of the blocks, really. It just feels so uninspiring, and a lot of the stars you collect are very forgettable and just not fun to collect. So, yeah, let's move on. A lot of you might disagree with me on this one, but Hazy Maze Cave is just too big of a level. I like the idea and all, but I just find I get lost half the time. I had to look up a walkthrough to get every single star in here. That's how lost I got. It just seems too big, and while it's a good idea and all, it's just way too easy to get lost. And no, the map does not help at all. Who even bothers looking at that map? Plus you forget it after like 2 seconds. So yeah, there is some enjoyment to be had, and there's some interesting stars to collect, but I just found I had to look up where to find all of them, just because the maze was that confusing. So, let's move on. I have not even bothered trying any stars in TikTok Clock. Everyone knows it's one of the harder levels in Mario 64, and while some people might like it, I just think it's a little too difficult. And plus, it can be a little hard to go up and down the place to find stars. So, a lot of you may disagree with me on this, because in fairness, I think I've tried one of the stars and failed miserably, never went back to it, so I haven't really given this stage much of a chance, but I still think it's pretty bad. So let's move on. Wet Dry World, yeah, I didn't even bother really getting any stars in this one. It's just a little confusing for me. I mean, my mind isn't able to wrap itself around the fact of being able to control when water rises and falls. Or at least not in this manner, and I just don't understand where any of the stars are. I just didn't even bother. So, yeah, I don't know everything about this stage, but I just know that it's just not great. And it's also a little depressing. I mean, isn't there a rumor that it has a negative aura effect? Yeah, I don't really believe that, but it is definitely depressing. It's very bland and uninspiring. So, that's really all I gotta say about it. It's just mediocre. Dire Docks is pretty boring, to be honest. I mean, you're just kind of swimming, and while swimming's cool and all, the swimming isn't very fun. Yeah, you're just kind of swimming around. There's this one section where you can get a star by, opening boxes in the right order, which we all know is very fun. I'm being sarcastic in case you didn't know. Then you swim through a tunnel, and you go into this bigger water area where there's sometimes a submarine and sometimes not. And then that's where there's more stuff to do, but even so, the level just feels so small and out of place. I mean, sure, I do like that star where you have to combine the Metal Cap and Vanish Cap. For some reason, I always want to say Wing Cap whenever I'm thinking about any of the power-ups. But yeah, you combine those two to find a star under the water, which is pretty cool, but that's really it. The rest of this world is just fairly bland and just uninspiring. So let's move on. This could be interchanged with Dire Dire Docks, but I think Jolly Roger Bay is just a little bit better. Jolly Roger Bay is also very bland, uninspiring, and a little depressing, to be honest. The theme is a little relaxing, but it just kind of feels a little depressing when it's mixed with this kind of level. Everything's dark, and it's just swimming, and everything is just, yeah, kind of depressing. I just don't think Jolly really belongs in the name for this world. There are a few good stars to collect, and it's not all bad, but I've just never been a fan of this one. Cool Mountain has some pretty cool stars. My only problem with it, though, is just sometimes once you go down the mountain, it's hard to go back up. But there's really not many instances where you think I need to go back up. So, yeah, it's not that bad. I just find it can be a little linear. That's my only complaint. The rest of the level is pretty cool. You got some really cool obstacles, got some cool enemies, you got a slide, which we all know is really fun. You know, you can't really go wrong with this stage. There's some pretty cool stuff to do and see. And some pretty cool stars to collect, of course. So, let's move on. This one could also be interchanged with Cool Mountain depending on how I'm feeling, but I think Big Boo's Haunt might just be a little bit better. Simply because it just feels like a good ghost level. You have to run around a mansion, and you have to, find stuff depending on the star. It's really cool, actually, and, fits with the ghost theme perfectly. There's really not much to complain about, although sometimes trying to look around the mansion can be just a little annoying. But, again, that fits with the theme. So, yeah, this is a fairly good stage. So, let's move on. Yes. The first stage of the game. Bob on Battlefield is pretty good. It's fun. It's got a great theme. It's got some really cool stuff to do, and it's a great way to introduce you to the game. There's so many cool stars to collect, and it's just a great time running around in this place. It's just good. That's all there is. There's nothing really to complain about, but nothing too over the top. So, that's really all I gotta say about it. This one could be interchanged with Bob on Battlefield 2. Again, I know I've been saying that a lot, but it's true. This list was actually fairly difficult to make. But Womp's Fortress is pretty good. It's a little more kind of like close together. Like in Bob on Battlefield, there's a lot of open spaces, whereas in Womp's Fortress, it can be a little more linear. However, I do think Womp's Fortress is better with throwing obstacles at you, and the stars are just more fun and creative to collect. So, that's really all I gotta say about it. Again, there's nothing too over the top, but nothing really to complain about. Normally, I don't really like sand levels in Mario games. I just find they're a little bland. But Shifting Sandland actually has some really cool stars to collect. First of all, it's really open, and there's a lot of room to run. And but it's also divided up perfectly. Like, you got like the pyramid area, the quicksand area, the beginning area where it's just kind of like sand and there's like that one structure, and then there's the part where it's like squares and like those things are crushing you. It's pretty cool. Again, like I said, there's nothing over the top, but nothing really to complain about. I do like that star where you have to go into the pyramid. Not the one where you have to blindly make your jumps and try and collect some coins. That's the only complaint I have about this place, actually, that one star. But the one where you have to maneuver your way up to the top and then fight iRock. That's his name, right? I think. And plus, iRock is a pretty cool boss. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that name, because I feel like I'm getting it wrong. At the same time, I don't. Anyways, he's a good boss, and yeah, that's really it. That's really all I gotta say about Shifting Sandland. Tiny Huge Island is actually a great idea that I'm surprised hasn't been really expanded on in any of the past or future 3D Mario games, I guess. Or the more recent ones, you know what I mean. It's a cool idea because you can go down pipes and switch between a small island and a big island, each one being the same, but the difference is how big it is. I find the reason, though, that this one isn't at number 1 is just because you're always going to spend your time in the big island. Like, I found that I barely spent any time in Tiny Island because, I mean, it's impossible to maneuver around there. You just fall off of everything, whereas on the big island, it's much easier to get around. But either way, this is a great idea, and it's got some great stars. The Wiggler boss fight's pretty cool, even though we flooded its home, which is cruel. Yeah, it's pretty good. Again, I found there were a few glitches, like in the Tiny Island, it felt like everything was a little glitchy, but you know, it's a good stage. It feels creative, and it's just a joy to run around in. Yep, I'm surprised too, but I do enjoy running around Snowman's Land. There's some interesting stars to collect, and it's a good snow level. That's literally, I could just end like my thing right now. That's all I gotta say about it. It's just good. I just enjoy it. It's good. Okay? That's it. I'm surprised I had this one so close to number 1 too, but Lethal Lava Land is frankly great as well. There's a lot of areas to run around in, each one being divided up, which is nice. And all the stars are fun to collect. I don't think there's a single one I didn't enjoy collecting. And plus, I do like lava levels. I find they're intense and are just good. So, yeah, again, that's really all I have to say about this one. But it's really good. Yeah, I was surprised at the entirety of the top 3, but, you know, I think they're all really good. Especially Tall Tall Mountain. You see, I didn't really like Tick-Tock Clock and Cool Cool Mountain because it's hard to go up and down them as they're towers. But Tall Tall Mountain makes it so that it's fairly easy to go up and down the mountain, and most of the time all the stars are just on your way, and you know where they are. So, it's not really that much of an issue having to go up or down. You just generally go up. And it's a joy to climb up this mountain. Sorry, I didn't mean to stutter there. Basically, there's a lot of stars to collect, each one being a different kind of like elevation, and each one is so much fun to find and collect. It's a lot of fun. And that's really all I have to say about it. It's just a good level, and it's just fun to run around in. So yeah, I'd say these are some pretty good worlds Mario 64 has, and I'd say they are part of the reason why it's such a great game today. Anyways, like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.